Hello everyone. Nice to see you again. So this video is going to be about the citations and the primary sources for your first paper, because those are the two biggest issues I have really with grading a paper. So first of all, you should have already sent me your topics for the first paper. If you have not, you need to do that as soon as possible. The paper itself is a research paper. So basically what you are doing is you are just researching the topic you gave me. And then you're going to tell me about it, what you found out about your topic in an informational paper. And how else you want to write it, that's up to you. But that's the basics for how to write your paper. You have to use at least one primary source in your paper. The easiest way usually to find a primary source is just to go to Google and take your topic and then put in primary source behind it. For instance, if your topic was Pocahontas, you would say Pocahontas primary sources. Hit enter, you're going to find all kinds of different ones. If your topic is a little bit more broad, some of you chose slavery as a topic, you're going to have to narrow that down a little bit to find some primary sources, because if you just type in slavery in primary sources, you're going to get way too much stuff and from all types of time periods. Our paper is really supposed to be anywhere between the year 1500 to 1776 for this first paper. So you may want to type in slavery in the Caribbean primary sources, or slavery in Carolina colony primary sources, or whatever area you've chosen to write about, and then primary sources behind it. Some of you have really easy topics. For instance, if you chose the Declaration of Independence, well, I hope you would use the Declaration of Independence as your primary source. For the author on that one, when you get to the citations, you can use Thomas Jefferson as the author, or sometimes, because it was a group of people who kind of went over the document, you can use founders as your author. That's often used as well. And that brings us to the next part. Hopefully if you have any issues though coming up with a primary source, just email me and I can point you in the right direction to get one for your paper. For citations, and this is the biggest issue that many students have, I don't require you to do a works cited page or bibliography or references page. Instead, we use endnotes or footnotes. Okay, so endnotes or footnotes are citations. That is where you are citing within your paper where you got your information from. So your citation will include the normal stuff that normal citations do, like the author's name and the title of the work. For books, usually there's the publication city, the publisher, the date it was published, and page number. Those are pretty much the short terms of the books. And for online sources though, which many of you will probably use, you have to just kind of go down the line. Does it have an author? If not, then you go to the next thing. What's the title of the work? Sometimes if it's like if it's an article, you'll have the title of the article and then the title of the publication. So you'll have to list both of those. And then sometimes when you get to dates, if it's a journal or a magazine or something, they may have different date formats. Like you may have a month, day, year, or sometimes you'll have just a month and year, or sometimes you'll just have a year. Whatever date they have, that's what you post. And then for online sources, you also have to list the date you accessed it, the entire web address. You'll copy and paste the whole thing into your citation so that I can just click on it and go straight to your source. It makes grading much easier and faster. You definitely want me to be able to grade your paper fast. And then you will also, if there's page numbers, you have to put page numbers. But really, you just go down the line, and if it doesn't have an author, you just keep going to fill in all that information that you have available. Now, many of the online websites have your citation information for you. History.com is one of those. If you use that, any of those articles in your paper, it has the citation information. You just have to make sure it's in the correct format. Usually they list History.com editors as the author for those articles. But if you look on Blackboard and you look under content and papers, you're going to see several different things. First, I've created a paper 1 bonus assignment. This was something I did in the face-to-face classes, and you probably got the previous email that you could come into the computer lab and I would go over that with you and so on and so forth. A couple of you did show up. If you showed up for the first time, there was a problem with that computer lab, so we ended up leaving early because half of the computers weren't working. So I apologize for that if you showed up and we weren't there. We had that issue. But going forward. So on that bonus assignment, it's due when the paper's due, which is October 13th. But if you want me to actually grade your citations or look over your primary source, you should upload it before then so that I can give you any corrections or anything you need before you upload your paper. So the assignment is the first part of it. You just find a primary source online, and you'll give me the entire web address for it and then a little description of what it is. Is it a letter, book, whatever? And then the second part is that I have given you 2 passages, and I've even highlighted in the passage where the footnote or endnote goes. You choose whichever one you want, a footnote or endnote. Even in your paper, that's up to you. The difference is the footnotes go at the bottom of each page, the endnotes go at the very end of the document. So that's the only difference they have. So you'll use the information I provided to you at the bottom of those passages to create either an endnote or footnote. And you'll need to try to do it in the correct format. So scrolling down, you'll see Chicago style citations. It's a document, it's a Word doc. When you open that up, it gives you examples of multiple types of sources. So the first one, a book with a single author, that's the number 1. If you go down to the little number 1 at the bottom, you'll see how it's supposed to look. On endnotes and footnotes, they write the name just how it's usually, said, like if I was the author, Sarah Mangroo, instead of Mangroo, Sarah. But anyway, it goes author's name, title of the work, and then for a book, you would do open parentheses, the city of publication, the publisher, the publication date, in parentheses, page number, period. So that's pretty much for a book. Now going down the line from the top, there's a book with a single author, 2 authors, 3, so on and so forth. So that kind of shows you what they're supposed to look like. Articles in journals or magazines, you'll have to also not only put the article title, but the title of the work itself. For instance, looking at the one that's number 9, the author's name, the title of the work goes in quotations, or the title of the article, the title of the article goes in quotations, the title of the publication itself is italicized because that's almost like the same as the book title, the publication date, if it has a page number, period. If you're using online sources, you're not always going to find every piece of information. But once again, you just kind of go down the line. First, you ask, does it have an author? If yes, put that. It should have a title of some kind, so you can put that as well. And then if it's a website, usually the publisher is that website. that's usually the publisher. And if you ever have any problems putting this information in or what you should use, just ask. I will help you out. Most of you will be using online sources though, so that's that last one, number 10. So you would put, if there is an author, once again, not all online publications are going to have an author, but if they do, put the author, title of the work, title of the publication, and then make sure you put the date you access it, because websites change often. So if it changes, you're kind of covering your own self if it changes, but you'll have the date you accessed it. Available from the entire web address, copied and pasted. And then, of course, if it has page numbers, you'll put that at the end, but not all of them will have page numbers. So if you don't have those, that's fine. For the online sources, though, the big thing is to put the entire web address so that I can click on it and get to where it was quickly so I can grade it. Also, endnotes and footnotes are similar to in-text citations because you are citing the information you use directly in the paper so that I don't have to go hunting for it. Because when you do a works cited or a references or bibliography page, you're just listing in alphabetical order the sources you use. But then I have to go through your paper and then kind of line up which source goes with which information, and that takes too long. That's why we use endnotes and footnotes, because it's just right there and I can grade it very quickly without having to do all that extra work. And that really helps because it takes a long time to grade papers. So that's that. That document, the Chicago style citations, gives you how it's supposed to look. So use that as your example when you're writing your endnotes and footnotes. I have also included a paper that I wrote when I was in grad school. It's one of the shorter papers I did. It's about, it says 17 pages. Ooh, that's a long. Anyway, I think the content though is about 15-ish pages. But anyway, you don't have to read the whole paper. That's not the point. The point is for you to look at the endnotes also to get an idea of how they're supposed to look. So that gives you a good example. When I wrote this paper, the Turabian or Chicago style was they did the access date at the end of the website. Now I think they've actually put it before the website. It would either way you want to do it, that's fine with me, as long as you just get the information in the citation. That's what I need. I'm not going to be too much of a stickler for did you get every comma or did you get the period at the end or whatever. I just want the information as best as possible. But if you do go to upper level history classes, you will need to know Chicago style because that's all they use. So that'll help you. Other than that, there's also a document called endnotes screenshots. This shows you how to set up endnotes or footnotes. Now, there's a disclaimer. I have recently discovered that the version of Microsoft Word that you guys get free from the university does not contain the entire capabilities that Word has. So you will see at the very top the References tab. So when you click on Word, you should see the References tab. And when you click on that, it should give you at least insert endnote or insert footnote. You choose which one you want to do. And however that sets it up for you, I will accept that because you cannot change it if you don't have the little drop down box to set up them the way you want to. Because I think that limited version does not allow you to set them up in a particular way. So if that happens, that's fine. Just make sure you are getting the information into those citations that I need. And if you have any questions about setting them up, setting up how to do endnotes or footnotes or what's included, just let me know. So the endnotes and footnotes is for your citations, the where you got the information from. It's not for definitions of things or notes about the paper. It's just your citations, where your sources for the paper. That's what it is. And once again, if you have any questions about that, just email me. We can meet and I can go over it a little bit more. It helps to do it one-on-one. What else? So you'll have an example of my paper. You have an example of a student's plagiarism as well. That's basically where someone copied and pasted pretty much their entire paper. Don't do that. Write it in your words as best as possible. I would rather it be, horrifically written, but in your own words. You'll do much better. The rubric is also there. It's pretty straightforward. The specifications are also still there, but you should have already looked at them by now. There's also a place at the top under Paper 1 Bonus Assignment. There is a place to submit your paper when you finish it. It's not due till October 13th though, so you have a little less than a month now to complete it. But you should definitely get started. I think that's all I have for the papers. Just if you have any questions, let me know. See you soon.